antenna, right? You have to think about this on any one of these cases. If you get your kilowatt amplifier fired up and you key into nothing, all that energy goes nowhere, right? In this case, you have a tiny little arc somewhere or a piece of hardware that's vibrating, and it can't really go anywhere until it reaches the power line. And then you have this infinite antenna and all sorts of really interesting stuff happening. Another way to look at this is power line noise is very, at the lower frequencies, the broadcast band, 160, 75, like that, it diminishes in frequency. So if you have power line noise on 2 meters, you have a really serious problem.
Intimidating is this just applies to each particular application you make. The second time, you get another antenna and another antenna support structure. In other words, lawyers like to fuss with wordsmithing. I fussed. Antenna sufficient for your 440 repeater antenna. Under federal cases, no. Okay, the other news in the world of antenna law is last year's FAA Reauthorization Act, which includes basically this information that has to do with towers near crop duster plane work areas. Anybody here have any crop dusting in his backyard? It would only really apply if you're a dairy farmer and you grow a lot of hay, that kind of thing.
This is Whiskey 1 Victor, Northern Vermont, Winter Hamfest on CQ
I'm good with that. I don't have a clock order set on me. I just said
CQ. This is Whiskey 1 Victor, the Northern Vermont Winter Hamfest calling CQ. Here's Whiskey 1 Victor, Northern Vermont Winter Hamfest calling CQ and listening. CQ. This is Whiskey 1 Victor, Northern Vermont Winter Hamfest calling CQ. Here's Whiskey 1 Victor, Northern Vermont Winter Hamfest calling CQ and listening. Kilo 4 November Yankee X-ray 59 is Vermont at our Hamfest. Go ahead. Hey, thanks for the call from Florida, being part of our special event up here. I bet you're a little warmer than we are.
People did that, they just agreed with saying,
Yeah, roger that. One of our members was down there at Hamcon last weekend. I think they said the weather was quite.
And I said FTA is already 50% of all HFQ, so I dare say it's probably more than that now. Okay? And what's your time when SSB is very quiet, you tune across the sideband, you don't hear anybody on the 1 or 2 stations, you go over the FDA frequency and there's all sorts of hell breaking loose. Okay, what happened? So the idea of FT8 is its purpose is to make contacts under marginal conditions. The digital kind of does the work. It's a weak signal mode, which means you don't use it for rad chewing. You can only send 13 characters. You can send your call sign and a signal report, and that's about it. If you want to start talking about your equipment or the weather or any of that stuff, this is not the mode for you. But it can copy signals down to 24 dB. What does that mean? In English, that's pretty darn weak. Okay, in CW, I would dare say that 2 really good CW operators can probably go down to about -20. There's one for New Hampshire. There's New England wide, which is basically it's about 91 repeaters, something like that. So you wouldn't want to have a local conversation. You'll bring up 91 repeaters. They have a region north, which is sort of like that, but it's more northern New England, and then to Canada. Then you have northeast, North America, worldwide, and then TAC is kind of like a little private channel for your private chats or whatever. And so again, you got to set all these up. Who you want to talk to? It's pretty complicated. So we even have a pyramid of how this works. So if you use talk group 9, you're just talking on the local repeater. And what do you do? I can do that on analog, right? And then you got the Vermont talk groups here, various statewide ones. Here is more the regional, the New England one. And then you get the top of the food chain. You get the stuff that goes pretty far and wide.
Stifling dissent, quite frankly, I think it was in some situations. That's the weaponization of the code of conduct, and that's why we got rid of it. And that's why, of the 4 new directors that came on board, that's one of the more important reasons why they all ran and why they all won. Right?
3 directors, 1 vice.
Okay, 3 directors, 1 vice director.
Val lost.
That's right, she lost. It's wishful thinking on my part. I wish she did. Anyway, that's how that came to pass. The second major thing that happened, it was discussed a little bit in the earlier session, was we withdrew the support of the Amateur Radio Parity Act, ARRL.
You have people who live on, let's call it 1 to 5 acres. They have their own individual homes, but it was a development. They probably have some concern. They may have an architectural review board and the like. Third, you have the people who live in townhouses. All they own is that little postage stamp of green behind the house, followed by the forest. You know this? You know that place? Maybe you live in one of those places. They may need a different rule because nobody's going to tolerate a 70-foot tower in the backyard that's 25 by 25. But they ought to be able to put up wire antennas in the woods. And then finally you have somebody who lives in an apartment building where all he controls is maybe a tiny little porch.
Hey, Carl.